Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on Mitv Plus. I am Layo Shobo for Lauren Shaw and our top stories for tonight. President Tinubu nominates Joseph Tegbe as Minister of Power. Supreme Court vacates status quo antebellum order. Supreme Court nullifies PDP Ibadan Convention, dismisses Tureki-led appeal. And on the foreign scene, Britain's King Charles honors fallen U.S. troops on last day of visit. In sports, former England international Ashley Young to retire aged 40. Now the news in details. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has nominated Joseph Olasukomi Tegbe as the Minister of Power. Presidential spokesman Bayo Ononuga disclosed this in a statement on Thursday, saying the nomination is subject to confirmation by the Senate. The nomination, he said, has been transmitted to the Senate for screening and confirmation in accordance with the Constitution. Tegbe's nomination comes after the resignation of Adebayo Adelabu, who stepped aside to pursue his governorship bid in Oyo State ahead of the 2027 election. Like his predecessor, Tegbe is also from Oyo State. He's a fiscal and economic reform expert with over 35 years of experience spanning the public and private sectors. A former senior partner and head of advisory services at KPMG Africa, he led wide-ranging initiatives in fiscal policy reform, institutional transformation, and governance in that firm. Meanwhile, the federal government has unveiled fresh measures to overhaul Nigeria's power sector, including the appointment of a new special advisor on power and the creation of a presidential task force to drive reforms. Briefing State House correspondents, the Minister of Information and National Orientation said the decisions followed the submission of a committee report on the establishment of a grid asset management company, GAMCO, aimed at improving efficiency in the electricity sector. He announced that President Bola Tinubu has approved the appointment of Larry Babalola as special advisor on power. Babalola, a former Minister of Power, is expected to play a key role in implementing reforms. The Federal Executive Council also approved the constitution of a high-level presidential task force on power sector reform to be chaired by the president. The task force will address long-standing challenges in electricity generation, transmission, and distribution. Membership of the committee includes key ministers such as finance, petroleum resources, industry, trade and investment, information, and the Attorney General of the Federation, alongside representatives of power, generation, and distribution companies. The minister said the initiative underscores the administration's renewed commitment to fixing the power sector, describing electricity as crucial to industrial growth and national economic prosperity. He added that the reforms are designed to deliver a comprehensive overhaul of the sector, positioning Nigeria for sustainable development.
Undertook a very comprehensive review of the commercial, investment, and institutional framework underpinning GAMCO. Now, based on that, a report was now submitted to Council today. Mr. President, consistent with his vision of ensuring that there will be economic prosperity for Nigeria, has decided that a renewed attention will be put in the power sector. Therefore, this power sector has a new task force. It's called Task Force on Power Sector Reform. Mr. President himself will be the chairman of that committee. And the newly appointed special advisor on power, Mr. Larry Babalola, will sit in from time to time for Mr. President. There are other members of the committee One is the Honorable Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, the Honorable Minister of State Gas, Honorable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment.
The Supreme Court has set aside the order made by the Court of Appeal in Abuja ordering the maintenance of status quo antebellum in the leadership dispute in the African Democratic Congress, ADC, in which the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, acted in derecognizing the David Mark-led leadership of the party. In a unanimous judgment of a five-member panel, the Apex Court ordered parties to return to the Federal High Court for expeditious hearing of the case filed by an aggrieved chieftain of the party, Nafiu Bala Gombe, challenging, among others, the emergence of Mark-led leadership of the party. In the lead judgment, Justice Mohammed Garba held that the Court of Appeal had no business making a preservative order in respect of a case that was pending before the trial court, having determined the interlocutory appeal brought before it by Mark against the September 4 interlocutory decision of Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court. The Apex Court held that the appeal that was filed before it by Senator Mark succeeded in part, even as it dismissed the aspect that challenged an ex parte order that the Federal High Court made for service of processes in the suit filed by aggrieved members of the party. Also, the Supreme Court dismissed the appeal filed by the Taminu Tureki-led National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. Delivering the majority judgment on Thursday, Justice Stephen held that the National Convention held in Ibadan, Oyo State, on November 15 and 16 last year was in defiance of an existing judgment of the Federal High Court delivered by Justice James Omotosho. The Apex Court berated the Tureki-led group for going on to another court of coordinate jurisdiction to secure an order instead of going on appeal. It describes the move as an abuse of court process. The majority judgment adds that any litigant who engages in the act of abuse of court process does so at his or her own peril. The majority judgment dismissed the appeal for lack of merit. The Tureki group had asked the Supreme Court to set aside a Court of Appeal ruling that voided the convention for breaching a subsisting court order. Nigeria's armed forces have recorded notable successes in their ongoing fights against terrorism and insecurity as military operations continue across several regions of the country. In its latest operational update, the Defense Headquarters outlined key achievements made in April, reflecting intensified efforts to dismantle criminal networks, rescue civilians, and restore stability nationwide. Our correspondent, Marianne Inakimion, completes the report.
The Defense Headquarters has announced significant gains in the ongoing military operations across Nigeria, highlighting continued efforts to combat terrorism and restore security nationwide. Speaking at the monthly briefing in Abuja, the Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Michael Onoja, revealed that troops neutralized 216 terrorists and successfully rescued 288 abducted civilians during coordinated operations conducted in April. He further disclosed that 284 suspects, including key collaborators, were arrested within the period. In addition, troops destroyed several terrorist camps, enclaves, and illegal weapons manufacturing facilities, dealing a major blow in criminal networks.
The armed forces continue to conduct relentless coordinated operations across the 7 active theaters in this month. Across every geopolitical zone of the Federal Republic, troops executed precision kinetic strikes against insurgents and criminal formations, dismantled terrorist enclaves and logistical networks, and rescued scores of abducted civilians, restoring safety to communities that had endured the menace of terrorism, kidnapping, and armed violence.
Major General Noja also noted that the military is intensifying civilian military operations through peace building, engagement, and community support initiatives, particularly in conflict-afflicted areas. According to him, these efforts are aimed at fostering trust and stability among local populations. He emphasized that all military operations are carried out in strict adherence to international humanitarian law and established rules of engagement.
Civilians, restoring safety to communities that had endured the menace of terrorism, kidnapping, and armed violence. These operations were prosecuted in seamless collaboration with other agencies and community stakeholders whose partnership has been invaluable to the armed forces' operational successes. The period recorded some of the most decisive battlefield outcomes over the last 3 months, with numerous insurgents neutralized, multiple enclaves stormed and destroyed, and a substantial number of abducted citizens reunited with their families.
The latest operational updates underscores the military's sustained momentum in the fight against terrorism, as well as its borders' commitment to safeguarding lives, strengthening community relations, and ensuring long-term national stability. Reporting from Abuja, Marian Inahimion, MITV Plus News.
A Plateau State High Court sitting in Jos has ordered that 4 suspects standing trial over the Angua-Rukuba killings in the Jos North local government area remain in the custody of the Department of State Services (DSS) pending the conclusion of investigations. The suspects are facing charges bordering on criminal conspiracy to commit terrorism and terrorism following the March 28 attack, which reportedly claimed over 30 lives. At the resumed hearing on Thursday, the Plateau State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Philemon Audu Daffy, informed the court that the prosecution had filed a case management conference, CMC, alongside the charges and requested a date for the conference. Daffy also applied for the continued remand of the defendants in DSS custody, arguing that investigations were still ongoing and that one of the principal suspects remained at large. According to the prosecution, the suspects are charged under Section 269 and are punishable under Section 270 of the Penal Code Law of Plateau State, 2017. Suspected gunmen who attacked the Christ Apostolic Church in Edaunio, Ilejemeje local government area of Ekiti State have demanded 1 billion naira ransom for the release of 15 worshippers abducted during the incident. One person was also killed in the Tuesday evening attack. Speaking with journalists, the traditional ruler of the town, the Eleda of Edaunio, Oba Joseph Awolola, condemned the attack and alleged the security operatives arrived more than an hour after distress calls were made. The Ekiti State Commissioner of Police, Michael Falade, and the Governor's Special Advisor on Security, retired Brigadier General Ebenezer Ogundano, visited the community and assured residents that efforts were ongoing to rescue the victims. They also urged residents to remain vigilant and support security agencies with useful information.
Was killed and 15 people were adopted. They sent to us, they phoned us, they said they want 1 billion naira.
There were bushcoming around this place. It's quite unfortunate that incident happened at night when they are doing the Fiji at odd hours. When I heard the situation, I came down here and I invited all other people from other local area to come down here and start bushcombing in the forest for possible recovery, the rescue of these kidnapper victims, and possible arrest the kidnappers. And as God liveth, I strongly believe soonest we'll rescue all these kidnapper victims and also arrest all the culprits behind this ugly incident.
The incident that happened here, I classify it as an isolated incident that we are going to put a stop into it, and want to assure the people of Ekiti State that His Excellency, the Governor, Godwin Abayomi Banji, is still ready and is capable to continue to ensure security of life and property everywhere in the state.
The Lagos State government has unveiled its Industrial Policy 2025-2030, a five-year blueprint to position the state as a 21st century industrial hub driven by technology, green growth, and broad-based development. Speaking of the event, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu said the Lagos State Industrial Policy (LSIP) would ensure rapid urbanization is matched with technology-led production systems, modern supply chains, and stronger competitiveness. Sanwo-Olu, he was represented by the Secretary to the State Government, Abimbola Salu Ndeyin, urged the private sector to partner with the government to actualize the plan. Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment, John Eno, who was represented by engineer Temitope Oshinawo, described Lagos as the commercial heartbeat of the country and commending the initiative, which aligns with the domestication of the national industrial policy. Earlier, Commissioner for Commerce, Cooperatives, Trade and Investment, Folashade Bada Ambrose, said the policy was a strategic blueprint to leverage Lagos human capital on market scale, stating that it will strengthen the enabling environment necessary for enterprise growth and investment.
Administration of Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu is fully committed to the implementation of this policy. With organized labor and with all relevant stakeholders, implementation will be driven by collaboration, by accountability, and by continuous engagement. We will establish clear governance structures, monitor our progress rigorously, and remain responsive to feedback and to the emerging realities of the seasons through which this policy must travel.
Especially commend His Excellency, Mr. Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu, for his visionary leadership in steering this comprehensive framework to fruition. Lagos remains the industrial heartbeat of Nigeria, and the launch of the Lagos State Industrial Policy 2025 to 2030 is not just a milestone for the state, but a significant boost to our national economic objectives. This policy launch is particularly timely. It aligns seamlessly with the federal government's newly launched Nigeria Industrial Policy, NIP.
It commits Lagos to the industrial parks that work, to power that holds, to logistics that move with precision, and to a regulatory environment that respects in equal measure the time of the entrepreneur and the capital of the investor. This policy commits the state to standards that are globally credible, to procedures that are administratively predictable, and to incentives that are fiscally responsible. This policy commits Lagos, in short, to the boring, unglamorous, well-beaten work of getting the fundamentals right.
Meanwhile, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and former Liberian President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf have called for stronger institutions, expanded opportunities for young people, and inclusive leadership as key drivers of Africa's development. They both spoke at the Lagos Leadership Summit 2026, organized by the Lateef Jakonde Leadership Academy, where policymakers, development partners, and emerging leaders gathered to examine how governance can deliver sustainable impact. Sanwo-Olu, represented by the Secretary to the State Government, Bimbola Salu Ndeyin, stressed that sponsorship remains the most critical factor in unlocking youth potential, pointing out that mentorship and access alone are insufficient without opportunities to prove competence. In her keynote remarks, Sirleaf shifted focus to institution building, warning that governance anchored on personalities rather than systems cannot deliver lasting development. Earlier, the executive secretary of the academy, Aishat Agbaje Okwade, set the tone for the summit with a call for deliberate system building, stressing that leadership must be judged by its ability to create structures that endure.
Access gives you exposure, it takes you out, it let them know, because you sit in the boardroom where policies are made, you can hear things, you can build your relationship. So all three are dependent. Mentorship, you're being brought up and your capacity is built. Sponsorship, somebody picks you up and you're offered a job to be able to prove yourself on the job while you've been mentored, and you still see people that can mentor you there. And then access takes you out into the world. So you ask me, which is most important? I'd like to be honest with you, young people, sponsorship is. The reason is a lot of people in our state, in our country, even globally, have been mentored.
Over the last 11 years, as we have mobilized over $6 billion into Africa and worked across Lagos, Abuja, London, and Dubai, we have come to understand that capital can initiate growth, but only people can sustain them. This is particularly evident in our mandate with the Nigeria Governors Forum and the Forum of State Investment Promotion Agencies of Nigeria, FOSIPAN. While the objective is to raise international funding for sub-sovereign projects, the deeper responsibility is to ensure that these projects are supported by systems.
The Christian Council of Nigeria, CCN, has implored Nigerians not to place money above character while exercising their franchise in the next general elections. The chairman, CCN Southwest Zone, Most Reverend Jeremiah Tunji, made the call while speaking at the Southwest Zonal meeting and inauguration of the new executives for the Lagos State chapter. He explained that the country would only begin to enjoy true democracy when electorates cast their votes without monetary or any other form of influence. The chairman of CCN Lagos chapter, Reverend Stephen Onyilola, charged the church to deepen its understanding of the scriptures and equip believers for God's ministry. Oyinlola stated that the Lagos CCN would continue to support government's efforts aimed at sensitizing and encouraging electorates to come out and vote during elections.
We are approaching this 2027 politics. We should push character before cash, and we should put character before tribe or before religion. By the time we push character in the front, we will be able to vote for the right people. And we, as a Christian or as a citizen, will be able to know and vote for the people that have been valuable for our society. So let's push character before cash. We should not allow cash gift to blindfold us to vote for the right people.
First thing to do is to continue to pray for Lagos and Lagosians and be the example, and keep on talking about peace and peaceful coexistence. In the past, we've encouraged our people to go get their PVC. We've encouraged them to join the party of their choice and to do the needful. So that's all we're going to be saying, and we'll be praying, we'll talk, and we will be the example. I will be the example. I used to vote, and I will vote again.
A former governor of Lagos State, Akinwumi Ambode, on Thursday broke his silence on the 2027 governorship election with his endorsement of Deputy Governor Obafemi Hamzat. Ambode's barking was contained in a statement he personally signed, where he describes Hamzat's adoption as the party's consensus candidate as a reflection of his loyalty, hard work, and dedication to the party for over 2 decades. Ambode also threw his weight behind the re-election bid of President Bola Tinubu, noting that the greater prosperity of Lagos and Nigeria is firmly tied to the continued governance provided by the president. And now on the foreign scenes, King Charles III paid respects to the fallen United States troops at a military cemetery on Thursday, the final day of a state visit aimed at healing ties between Britain and the United States, which was strained by the war in Iran. By all accounts, the four-day visit has been a success, with President Donald Trump serving as solicitors host-in-chief, who kicked off the monarch's stay with a pomp-filled welcome and lavish white tie banquet at the White House. Charles and Camilla then visited Arlington National Cemetery just outside Washington, where they laid a wreath and flowers at the hilltop tomb of unknown soldier honoring America's unidentified war dead. The pair stood solemnly as a butler played taps before visiting the adjacent display room of military exhibits and artifacts. Meanwhile, Israeli warplanes have carried out airstrikes on the town of Qawiya in Lebanon's Beit Jebel district, according to Lebanon's official national agency. A convoy of vehicles was also hit in the town, killing one person, the report said. The latest casualties brings the total number of those killed by Israeli attacks in Lebanon today to at least 28, the report said. Rafi Milo, commander of Israel's Northern Command, has said Israeli forces have pushed 10 kilometers into Lebanese territory and do not intend to pull back. Speaking with local officials in northern Israel, Milo said Israeli forces in southern Lebanon are clearing a vast area that spans 60 Lebanese villages. In sports, former England international Ashley Young has announced he is retiring for playing at the age of 40. Young started out at Watford before going on to play for Aston Villa, Manchester United, Inter Milan and Everton, starting as a winger before becoming a fullback. He ends his career at Ipswich Town, having joined the Portman Road club on a one-year deal in July 2025 after being released by Everton. Young has made his England debut in November 2007 and won 39 caps for the national team, scoring 7 goals. And finally, in sports, Manchester United midfielder Kobe Mainoo has signed a new contract until 2031, bringing an end to months of uncertainty over his future. The English international, aged 21, had agreed his previous deal shortly before breaking into the first team in 2023, and it was due to expire in 2027, though there was an option to extend it by a further year. The Stockport-born academy product was marginalized under former United boss Ruben Amorim, which prompted him to push for a loan move to Italian side Napoli during the January transfer window. But United rejected that request, making clear to him that the club valued him and wants him to stay and fight for his place. Kobe is one of the most naturally gifted young footballers in the world, said the United Director of Football, Jason Wilcox. And that brings us to the end of our primetime news tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Please follow us on all our social media platforms at MITV Plus _NG on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X. You can also watch our programs live on YouTube at MITV Plus _NG. Please remember to click the like and subscribe button. I am Layo Shobo for Lauren Show. To have a good evening.